Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where I am back. Here we are recording a video. My voice might be a bit like, ugh. I'm not necessarily sure. Like, I don't think I'm ill or anything, but I certainly had a craziest amount of, I don't know, hay fever like allergies yesterday. But yeah, basically went to go visit a few friends, and we went to a nice sort of like festival for games in general, which was quite nice. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:20 p.m. on Sunday, June 1st, 2025. It's Pride again, of course. I'm not sure what to talk about necessarily. I'm trying to think because a lot of things sort of happened. It was I don't think it was necessarily a convention, because I think it was called a video game festival technically, but it essentially was just like a convention, like a small scale one. It wasn't just like a insanely like, it's not like a MCM London Comic Con or anything, but it seemed to be showing off a lot more like indie things. Is probably how I describe it. There are a lot of like smaller creators who had their games from like, there was one of them which was like a game jam. Just like a load of games which people made in, I think it was 2 weeks, I don't remember off the top of my head. And then they like announced the winners and all that good stuff during that final day, because we were only there for final day. The rest of the days, well, I mean the day before was a Friday, so couldn't really do much, and today's a Sunday, which we travelled back on essentially. But yeah, there was like a game jam where you could play a bunch of different games. I didn't play too many though. I can't even remember the names of the games, to be honest, but I played one which was like a story, like a choose your own adventure sort of game about like, I think it was called The Heart of the Forest or something like that, where I escaped with a friend who we had our differences and we put them aside or something and returned to Heart of the Forest. I also played like this multiplayer sort of game where you played as penguins. It was basically that Mario Party mini game back in Mario Party 3 that was brought back into like Super Mario Party or whatever most recent Mario Party Superstars, that's it. Where you have like the ball and you're like rolling around on the top of a cliff trying to bounce each other off. That's basically that. There are a lot of other small games as well, which I didn't really play because I only played a little bit, but it was cool. There was a lot of like, my favourite things about Comic Cons, these sort of conventions, is definitely always like the stalls that people have like set up, small creators making things, I like to buy things, little things here and there, because I don't know, I guess it's kind of fun of things which I find interesting. But yes, I'm trying to think what in particular to talk about. I think I just talk generally about everything, because a lot of things were sort of like game demos, so it wasn't like there were complete, or at least there weren't many complete games, I don't think, though people were just getting it sort of tasted just so you can see what it was about. I'm trying to think like other things that was about the place. Like one of my friends, they contributed to a game which I don't think is released. Yeah, I assume it's still in development. I don't even know if it's got a page or something. Let's see. Yeah, TVM Studios, Fox. That's what it's called, Foques. And they were there. And I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't get to actually play the demo they had, mainly because it was so insanely busy. Their thing. So, sorry, now isn't a good time, Vivian. We're too busy chatting. I do feel bad for saying that, but I mean, I guess we could have, to be honest. It's not like we'll just sit there, Vivian, and we're not going to say anything. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Trying to think what else. So I didn't play any of that game because it was always busy when I looked. But I did watch it a little bit, and I picked up a little bit of swag, promotional stuff they had. There was that big table for all the Game Jam games. There was a GeoGuessr like competition where two of my friends who are really good at GeoGuessr got 2 points off a perfect score, mainly because there was no time limit, I believe. They absolutely aced it, and I said that they should probably like keep a leaderboard of what's going on. But there was like a thing where they was selling like old secondhand games or whatever. Nothing which I picked up from there. I can't remember what that store was. There was something going on there, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of the other games that were demonstrated. There was one game I played. I cannot remember what it exactly was called. And I didn't have the business card. Maybe I got an email about it actually, because I did, it was called something like Legacy of Pandora or something of Pandora. It was basically Pokemon meets Slay the Spire meets Greek mythology is how I understood it. Again, I haven't played Slay the Spire or anything like that, so maybe it's just roguelike full stop in general. Legacy of Pandora, here we go. But yeah, it was, honestly, I really liked the art style. I think it looked very nice animation to it as well. Did I say Legacy of Pandora? I can't remember. I don't know, it's a very small scale thing, I think, at the moment. And they were just sort of like getting their footing. And they had a thing where like you could pay £1 and you get like a discount later, and I was like, oh, I mean, it's literally £1 supporting an indie game, I can do that. If anything, I would say that seems quite small for like a pledging, I guess, but I was like, fine by me. Make your game. Because it seemed like we had a good potential there. But what else would I say? That was the one I played most. I played that demo to the end, and I was just basically pressing all the buttons, because I was like, presumably you can get through. This is like a tutorial, it's not going to be particularly difficult to get through anything. So, but one part of the mechanic is basically you can capture your enemy's Pokemon style and use them in battle, but you have a mechanic where you can sacrifice your Pokemon to empower one of the other ones. And I basically just continuously did that over and over again. There was another game that was based off like microbiology. You played where you can basically make some bacteria. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was based off these like series of books, which I cannot remember what it was called, but I think it was called like Agar's Journey or something. I don't know, children's book microbiology. It was something like Agar, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it wasn't Agar. But no, it's very cool. It was apparently like a person's mother, their mother, like created a book series and they made it into a game, and I was like, that sounds like what a nice way to sort of like carry on the legacy, I think. It kind of reminded me of like a Spore-like game where you like create a creature and then it gets like different properties based off it. I was like, is there a limit? And they were like, no, you keep adding stuff. So I was like, I just gave my creature like, I think I gave it like 40 pairs of like limbs. And I just found it very funny because I was like, I'm just here to do silly stuff, I suppose. I'm sorry, probably I apologise as well, but I'm not playing the game exactly as you're probably intending for demos players to play, but I don't think I take it all in good stride. Or they take it all in good stride. It's probably like par for the course, I suppose. Although usually I'd imagine it'd be people unintentionally playing the game, not as intended. While here I was being like, I'm just gonna push a limit, I suppose, in that case. Yeah, so that was that. I'm trying to think what else happened. Other things. There's some other games. There was like a horror puzzle game. I didn't play that one. It was busy, I think, every time I walked by, and I was like, I'm not going to wait around for it. I was kind of like, if there's opportunity, I'll sit down and play. Otherwise, I'll just like sort of watch and observe. There was another one I played, which was basically like this magical girl, sort of side-scrolling beat-em-up sort of game. I thought it was right. At the beginning of the tutorial, at the end of the tutorial, there was like a little computer terminal where you could increase or change the difficulty, and I put it on max, and then I played the game, and I was like, wow, this game is really hard, and I was like, wait, I literally did just put everything on max. So I did die, but I thought it was cute. There was another game some of my friends played, which I sort of observed, but I didn't really do much. I think it was like you ran a train line or something. There was a 4-player cooking game, which I was like, that seems kind of cool, but then, didn't end up doing anything with that. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like Legacy of Pandora was the main one. There were other things as well, which are like non-gaming related. There was, something I do remember, because I was like, well, it was pretty good. There was like an animator I'm not sure if it's just one animator from a thing or like his animation platform is called Studio Goblin, but anyway, Studio Goblin was that a thing where basically you could draw a character and then he would spend like the next 10 minutes or something just basically making a very simple animation for it. Nothing like super complicated. It was like maybe like a 3-frame animation loop or something, but it was like very, very nice. No, maybe 3 frames a bit much, a bit little. Maybe it's like 3 to 7, I suppose, depending. Sorry, a little bit of a pause there. Yeah, you can draw just like a little character, and then the animator would like bring it to life with like a very short loop. So me and two of my friends, we drew things. We fielded. Well, one of our friends fielded. It was originally, I don't know. I'm giving us so much backstory. It doesn't matter. Basically, we drew from a prompt made by a friend, or combined from friends. The first prompt was like a very long-winded one, something about this character and their fleeting life only has a few weeks of living left or something like that. And then my other friend had a prompt of comedian. So basically me and two other friends, we drew a comedian who only had a few fleeting weeks left. And we went in pretty different directions, to be honest. My friend, they drew one called this Sticky, which is basically a undead skeletal comedian who's, as I understand it, the magic is that they're unliving. Was about to sort of run out eventually, and they'd no longer be reanimated, and they'd be, well, that's their fleeting life gone. The animation was really cool. It was like a sort of swinging sword, in a very sort of like rubber hose style is probably how I describe it. I think it ended up being like one of the smoothest animations, I think. And it's very, very cool. Especially for Skeleton, which is a very difficult, complicated character, I think, to draw and animate. I drew like a little, I don't know, in my mind, she was like a small like holy priestess or something who was like gonna martyr herself somehow. I mean, I don't know, I didn't really think of a story behind that. But I called her Seraphim, and yeah, the animation was pretty cool. She was sort of just like it was like she was channeling divine spirits. I gave her like the sort of line halo. I don't know what it's called. It's like a halo where it's got like the crown of thorns kind of like thing as well. And he drew it sort of like she was like animating like sort of like holding her arms out, like she's sort of channeling power, and like the halo sort of like spun around and like in that sort of like scribble doodle animation style, powered behind her. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then my friend drew, can't remember what she called him. Oh, I got a picture of it. Sir Tungstone, which just looked like a sort of retired, sort of like war-beaten paladin or knight. Is probably how I describe him. And my assumption is that the interpretation of only a few weeks after live is that he will like die on the battlefield or something. And the animation was cool, just sort of like he was like sort of casually sort of sitting, so you know, it was like the sword was just sort of like moving a bit, and then like the banneret he had was like waving in the wind. All very, very cool things. And if anything, I was shocked at how quickly the animation could just sort of be created. Literally, it was like 5 minutes or something. That's insanely fast, because animation is a very difficult medium, I think. Complicated medium, challenging medium. But yeah. What else did we do? We went to a talk by Ashens, the YouTuber, which was just like a sort of comedic thing. Basic, how I describe it was like, it was basically ranking or having a public vote basically on whether mascot characters from the Commodore, I think, game series were like horrid, I can't remember the description, like horrid little men or something like that. Horrid, I don't know, there's some description, but basically I would describe it as, I would paraphrase it as, do the main characters from these old games look incredibly cursed or not? I thought it was okay. I thought Ashton himself was quite amusing. I used to watch his videos or some of his videos when I was younger, his like reviews of like Poundland sort of stuff. But I haven't seen really much since. And then we did a video game quiz, which is maybe one of the most niche and hardest video game quizzes I think I've ever seen. Like if you ever do a normal quiz and there's a video game round, you know, as like my level gaming, I'll be like, yes, this is it, I'm in it, you know. Sorry, little pause. But yeah, the video game round on a generic pub quiz or something for a general audience is always very easy as like my level gaming, because I'll, you know, the hardest, most obscure game I'll talk about will probably be like, I don't know, like Overwatch or something. And you might be like, that's a very mainstream game. I'm like, yeah. This is probably how most other people feel about the pop music rounds or the sport rounds, if they're also interested in that hobby. That's a maybe eye-opening experience for someone. Anyway, the point being, we did the pub quiz and it was so insanely difficult and niche. It's what I'd say. Like, I think there were very, very few questions I could even answer. Mainly because it was like very like spear-headed niche. It was like you had to have like very pretty specific knowledge on this particular thing that I brought up. There's a lot of retro games, and I don't really play a lot of retro games, which definitely made it difficult. The thing I said, it was like, I can't believe there are 3 different Final Fantasy questions in the first like 10 questions or something. Luckily, one of my friends does like a Final Fantasy series, and honestly, he kind of killed it in the quiz. I was actually suffering from major like, I assume it's hay fever. I don't know, because it was literally only that evening and then nothing else. Like, I'm fine now. I was fine the day before. I have no idea what on earth happened, but something did in some form or another. Anyway, it was very, very niche knowledge. I surprisingly, from what I expected, contributed very little to the actual entire quiz. So I didn't, not even like from an allergy perspective, like I just didn't know a lot of questions or a lot of the answers. The thing I contributed most on is there was a round where it was just like, here are video games with vowels removed, but even then, like some of the games were crazy niche. Like one of them was No One Can Stop Mr. Domino, and I looked it up and I was like, what? How does anyone know what this game is? I guess if I didn't make it so hard though, because the fact that this was like a video games festival, people would just be getting 4 marks and it'd be like, okay, you have like 5 teams who all got 4 marks, what are you going to do about that? And the answer is you can't really do anything, I suppose. But I was like, No One Can Stop Mr. Domino? I was like, what game is it? Like, oh, my friend took a picture. So the first one was like, what, Blood Omen, The Legacy of Kain, which I actually have heard of, but like, you know, I don't really know anything about it. And I certainly didn't remember it was called Blood Omen. We put Blood Moon. But again, I guess these are just all old retro games, eh? Then the second one was Doom, which, you know, easy. The third one was, what was it? Bucky O'Hare, which is, I think, like a spin-off of one of the Star Fox games or something? Or is it not? But that's a vibe I got from it. I don't actually think it is now I'm looking at it. In my head it was a spin-off, but it's not. I think it's actually just like the same sort of genre of space animal, essentially. The fourth one, what was the fourth one? Oh, the fourth one I did get was Streets of Rage, which is fine. The fifth one was Legend of Zelda, something Chaos of Wisdom? That doesn't sound right. Legend of Zelda, Chaos of Wisdom. It's not Chaos of Wisdom, it's Echoes of Wisdom, that's it. Which is that very new one, which I honestly didn't actually remember the title for, so I probably wouldn't have got. But yeah, it was just so insanely obscure. And the first round was just like, it's called I'm Too Young to Die, which I'm actually not sure what the category even was now I think about it. I think it was just, now I think about it, but it was probably like retro games or whatever. The second one was Only Connect, which was, you know, I think it was a fun idea for a round. It was probably my favourite. It was pretty difficult. The third round was basically insanely difficult questions, like insanely hard ones. Like, I wish I could remember them. But like the level of specificity was like what is the only way the final big bad evil guy in the game Monkey Island can die or something. So it's like you had to have played that game and you had to have completed it basically, or like watch someone complete it to even have a chance of answering it. And the fourth one was, I think, a very interesting idea for a round, but it was so niche. But I was like, I can't contribute anything to any of this, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that I should necessarily, but I think it was an interesting experience for me because I like to think I usually do quite well on pop quizzes. but it's called Name That DJ, where basically you just had to name DJs from games. And I was like, this is so unbelievably specific. Like, the only one I knew was Lucio from Overwatch, I think. And in retrospect, I could have got the Splatoon one if I thought about it. I didn't know the name of a character, but I definitely could have got that it was Splatoon after listening. But it did sound a lot like Star Wars Chewbacca, so that's why we went with that. Anyway, so that was the quiz. And I realised we're running out of time. But somehow stores, I picked up something. I picked up like this Chinese equivalent of tarot is what I'd call it. I think it was called Yi Ling or something. I don't know. Anyway, I lent it to my friend too, because I think the art's really cool. And yeah, I'll pick it up at some point again. We did some fortunes telling with it, and yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I just thought it was really pretty, so I just bought some. Anyway, on that note, I think I'll round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see you again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.